I have arrived. I am home. In the here. In the now. I have arrived. I am home. In the here.
Good morning. I was getting ready to record some videos today, and it started to rain, which I'm actually quite happy about because we haven't had rain here in over a week, so it's very welcome. So right now I am sitting underneath our tree house so that I can stay out of the rain. But I thought that while I was out here, we could maybe do a meditation. So sit comfortably wherever you are. Make your back nice and straight. You can maybe close your eyes if you want to, or keep them slightly open and looking down at the ground in front of you. You'll want to breathe in through your nose and out. Paying attention to the breath as it comes in and out. And I am listening to the sounds of the world around me. I can hear squeaky cars driving by in front of our house. The sound of the tires on the wet pavement. I can hear the dripping of the water off of the trees and off of the roof of the treehouse that we have. And I'm just letting my mind relax, not thinking any thoughts in particular, but just allowing my senses to go from what I see to what I hear, to the smells, to the feelings in my body. Just letting it go, letting my concentration, my attention go from one sense to the next. And it just started to rain a little bit harder. And I can see as the raindrops fall, they make the grass and leaves wave a little. And I'm just going to sit and breathe with these sounds and sights for a few moments. What did you hear as you were sitting? What were some of the things that you saw? Are you sitting inside or outside? I encourage you to take some time today to spend a little time just sitting, just listening to the sounds, paying attention to the sights, not doing anything in particular, but just sitting. Till next time. Good morning, Peace Campers. Welcome back. We're on day 2 for the Daily Dharma. Do you remember this picture? Our Prajna Dragon Boat? Yesterday, we talked about Jijang Posal. Today I'd like to talk about this guy. I have another picture of him. It's a lot easier to see him. Do you remember what his name is? Jijang Posal. I'd like to tell you a story about Jijang Posal. Once upon a time, there was a little girl named Ayla, and she was walking through the woods with her family. Her parents were walking down the path pretty quickly, but Ayla really liked to take her time. There were so many interesting things to see outside. She liked to pick up little stones and pebbles, or look at interesting leaves that she found along the way. Her parents kept telling her to, "Hurry up, Ayla, hurry up, keep up with us." But Ayla had a really hard time doing it. At one point, Ayla spied a raspberry bush along the side of the path, and she loved raspberries. So she picked one, put it in her mouth, and then she picked another, and another. She kept picking more and more raspberries, and didn't realize that she was getting further and further away from the path. When she finally looked up, she realized that her parents were nowhere in sight, and she was far, far off of the path. She got kind of scared, so she started running in the direction that she thought that her parents were. But she wasn't watching her feet, and suddenly the ground gave way underneath her, and she fell down a hole. It was really dark in the hole. She could barely see her dirty knees and raspberry-stained hands. She wasn't hurt, but as she looked around her, she realized she was in a little cave. And there was a little river flowing through the cave with a beach full of tiny little pebbles. The only light in the whole cave came from the hole that she had fallen through. A beam of light came down onto the floor of the cave. And Ella realized that she couldn't reach the hole. Even if she stood up on her tippy toes and reached all the way up, she just couldn't get to it. I have a visitor. This is my cat, Yumi. He came to visit me. So when Ayla realized that she couldn't get out of the hole, she sat down on the ground and started to cry. Suddenly, she heard a creaky old voice. "No use in crying now, my dear. What's done is done." Ella looked around, and she could see off in the corner a figure. It was very dark. "I fell down the hole. Can you help me?" Ayla cried. "The only way to get out of here," the creaky voice said, "is to build a tower of pebbles and climb up it so you can reach the hole." The figure started to come closer, and when it came into the light, Ella saw a little old woman, a little hag. She had beady yellow eyes and a shriveled face, and three brown teeth sticking out. Ayla was very frightened. And then the little old hag said, "If you can build your tower before nightfall, I will let you leave. If not, you will have to do my bidding." And then she picked up this great big iron club in her hand, and she was kind of tossing it from one hand to the other. Ella was so very frightened. She hid behind her hands. And when she was finally brave enough to peek out through her fingers, the old woman was gone, and she was alone again in the cave. So, Ayla started to gather the pebbles from the beach next to the little river, and she started to pile them up. But the little round pebbles just kept rolling back down, and they wouldn't stay in the pile. Every time she tried to place them, they'd just roll back down. So she tried to be more careful about it and slowly placed each of the pebbles until she had a little pile built up. She kept placing her stones one by one, but it grew darker and darker in the cave. When the sun had finally set and it was dark in the cave, Ayla saw a light coming from one of the tunnels. And there she saw the mean old hag carrying a torch. As soon as she saw the little pile of pebbles that Ayla had made, she laughed this wicked laugh and took her great big iron club and smacked it into the pile of pebbles, scattering them everywhere. That first night, the witch made Ayla her slave. She made her do all her cooking and cleaning. When morning finally came, the witch disappeared down the side tunnel, but it was so dark in that tunnel without a torch, Ayla could not follow her. So she was left alone in the cave. The witch had told her before she left that if she could build her tower of pebbles before the sun set, she would let her leave. But if not, Ayla would have to be her slave once more. As soon as the witch left, Ayla started placing the pebbles carefully, one on top of the other. Soon her pile was taller than she was, but when she tried to climb it, she found she still couldn't reach the hole. And all the pebbles kept tumbling back down to the bottom. So when night fell again, she was no closer to freedom than she had been the night before. Once again, the witch appeared and took her iron club and knocked down the pile of pebbles, laughing. And she dragged Ella off to be her slave again. The next morning, when the witch left, Ayla was so tired that she sat down on the floor and she began to cry. She thought about her poor mother and father who would be so worried about her, and she wondered if she would ever see them again. Suddenly, a soft golden glow appeared from the back of the cave, and when Ayla looked up, she saw a little man. He was holding a tall staff in his right hand that had these metal rings that hung from it that jingled when he walked. In his left hand, he held a golden orb that glowed softly. The little man was dressed like a monk. He had this long robe with sleeves that were so large they hung all the way down to the floor. But he had a kind, round face, almost like a baby's. And Ella wasn't afraid when she looked at him. "Who are you?" Ayla asked. "My name is Kashidigarba," he replied. "But you can call me Jijang." "Can you help me get out of here?" Ayla cried. "There's an evil witch who knocks down my tower and makes me her slave every night." "Yes," Jijang said, "that is Datsuba. I know her well. Do not fear, little one. You build your tower, and I will stay here and keep watch." So Ayla began her work again, slowly piling the pebbles. She noticed that as long as Jijang was there with her, the pebbles didn't seem to roll back down again. And soon, her pile just grew larger and larger. But even though she worked so hard, the day was starting to end again. And Ayla knew that the witch would be back. When they could hear her coming, Jijang told Ayla to hide inside of his giant sleeves. When Datsuba saw Jijang, she was very angry, and she took her iron club and she tried to swing it at the pile of pebbles and knock them down again. But Jijang kept standing in her way, and she dared not get too close to that glowing orb in his hand. Finally, Datsuba grew so angry she stomped away down the passage. With Jijang's protection, Ayla was finally able to finish her tower of pebbles, and she climbed up them and reached up to the hole. She looked back at Jijang and said, "Won't you come with me?" "No, child. There are many more hidden places in these caves, and many more beings that need my help. I have made a vow to help them all." So, with a joyful heart of gratitude, Ayla put her hands together and bowed to Jijang, and then climbed up out of the hole to safety. Thank you for listening to my story. Let's sing the song, Love Grows. Love grows, one by one, 2 by 2, and 4 by 4. Love goes round like a circle, comes back knocking on your front door. Love grows, one by one, 2 by 2.